My heart's lost deep in a dream for your love.
Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with DC-based jazz vocalist Kristin Callahan. We caught up with her in late July to talk about her new 2021 CD, Lost in a Dream, her life in music, COVID, and the hopeful future of new live gigs. Enjoy the story.
So let's go ahead and start off here. Obviously, we're in the middle of a pandemic, and everything's kind of starting to open up. Live shows are happening, and your new CD, Lost in a Dream, is coming out during the tail end of this pandemic. How does it feel to not only have new material out, but to have that opportunity to promote it live?
You know, having this album come out is really exciting for me. It's a project that I've been working on for the last few years, and you know, it's just a really different and unique expression of jazz standards. And yeah, I'm really excited to be able to go out and perform it live and see people again.
So what do you ultimately want the listener to get from this experience? How do you want them to feel about this new CD?
Well, I really want them to just get the feeling of each song and to really get the meaning of the lyrics through the feeling of the music. And, you know, from the, you know, musical expression of all the musicians and the way that we did the arrangement.
So you've been doing this since you were 8 years old. Was it always your dream to be a singer?
I don't know if it was always my dream. I mean, singing for me was probably the most natural thing in the world, but performing not as much. Since I'm a little shy, I've always had to really kind of push myself for the performance aspect of it, but I've had some really great experiences, but singing is definitely, you know, my thing. And I'd say it became more serious probably not until my 20s, where I was like, okay, I want to pursue this.
So who were some singers and musicians that you were listening to that really inspired you to kind of get into jazz and to move in this direction?
So I think early on, I really gravitated toward Nat King Cole, Shirley Horn, and Chet Baker. And I think some people think Chet Baker's an interesting one to choose because, you know, he was a trumpet player and a singer, but I really love the simple approach that he had to singing, and the fact that he could just pick up his trumpet and be able to play during a song too. You know, trumpet is my favorite instrument, so he's definitely, you know, one of my favorites.
What was the first live show that you ever saw, more specifically jazz, that really blew you away?
So when I first started out in jazz, I went to New York for the first few years a lot, and I went to a bunch of jam sessions and then went to a bunch of different shows. And my favorite jazz club is Smoke Jazz, and I got to see Johnny O'Neill sing and play piano there. And I would say that was definitely one of the highlights of going to New York, and definitely an inspiring moment.
So where were you born and raised?
I was born and raised in Garrett County, Maryland.
Okay. So going to New York must have been quite a thrill to actually be in the middle of all that.
Yeah, I mean, so I moved out of the, you know, Garrett County's in the Appalachian Mountains, so it's really different than living in the city, obviously. So I moved to the city when I was probably not until like my mid-20s, and then I started going to New York maybe a few years after that. So yeah, it was a huge change and really, really exciting because I love culture and music, and those aren't things that maybe you get to see so often when you're in such a rural area.
What is the best thing every day about waking up knowing that you get to be a professional musician? What do you like the best about it?
I think, you know, when I think about all of my experiences, I think playing with the other musicians that are just so amazing, and how much fun I have meeting them and playing with them. And I just feel incredibly lucky often when I sit back and say, I can't believe I got to play with this musician. This is incredible and awesome. And, you know, those are memories that I'll never forget.
Once COVID passes, once we get to a point where, you know, live music comes back in earnest and everybody, you're on stage and we're in the audience. What do you hope we realize about the power of live music when that happens?
I think that, live music is really important for the community to come together. You've got, people from all walks of life, and we're basically just having a party, whether it's like a small party or a big party, and everyone's just coming together. And I think missing that for the first, few months that people actually get to do it, they're really going to realize, wow, it's really upping my spirits. I think it really brings your spirits up to come together with people, and it takes you away from maybe your problems or stresses that are going on in your life, and you can just have that moment with everyone together where you're just there having a great time and not thinking about everything else that's going on.
So if you could get into a time machine, go back in time and see any musician live, who would you want to go see and maybe talk to?
As I said earlier, I'm a big Chet Baker fan, so I would definitely pick a young or an old version of Chet Baker. Either one, I've watched footage of his performances at different ages, and I think either one would be a really cool experience. And I like I said, I love that he plays trumpet as well, so for me that's like the best of both worlds.
Why do you love jazz?
I think when I think about jazz and its effect on my life, I think it has really pushed me to grow musically. Before I, started studying jazz, I sang well naturally, but I didn't really, I think, work as much as I could have on my musicianship. And, since starting jazz, I can now play piano and just do the simple things that a lot of singers can't do for themselves, such as, playing out the melody and actually knowing the actual melody to a song the way it was written when you learn it, and being able to figure out, what key do I sing the song in, and I don't have to rely on other people to help me with that. So I think it's just actually really helped me stand on my own 2 feet and become musically independent. So it's been pretty awesome.
So everyone has an idea of who they think you are, a perception, your family, your friends, your fans, but ultimately you live your life. Who do you think you are?
Let's see, who am I? Well, I think my friends and family really know who I am. I'm pretty transparent with the people that I'm close to. I'd say that I'm kind of a goofy, funny, sensitive, and very expressive person. And then, people who don't know me very well, I think may see me as more reserved and possibly hard to read. So it's definitely, I try to push myself to let everyone see what people in my personal life get to see, which is, just this like laid back, funny, goofy person, instead of being shy and reserved,
Yeah. Kristin, thank you for taking a minute out for Neon Jazz, opening up about your life and the new album. I appreciate it.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest singers in Washington, D.C., Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to Kristin for her time, music, and story. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino in the iTunes Store. Visit neonjazz at youtube.com, and for everything Neon Jazz all the time, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
I have paid the cost, but someday I won't remember.
Neon Jazz.